And now for that interview with Eytan Cohen Yanarocak. As I mentioned earlier, he is a professor at Tel Aviv University and a world-renowned Turkey expert. He's also the author of an excellent book which delves into Ankara's use of textbooks to indoctrinate children. A page right out of the UNRWA playbook, if you ask me. Anyway, Turkey is the new patron of the al-Qaeda regime in Syria. It's a longtime patron of Hamas. It's a major backer of the Muslim Brotherhood. Is there any hope for this wayward ally? Let's find out. Welcome, Eytan Cohen Yanarocak.
Thank you very much for having me on your show.
All right. Well, let's start with just a bit about you. You're clearly an Israeli of Turkish background. That's not something we see every day. So what's your family story?
Okay, I can summarize it for you like this. My family, we are the descendants of the expulsion from Spain. Our ancestors came to the Ottoman Empire in 1492, and the rest is history. We grew up in several cities in the empire, like Edirne, like Ankara, and then my grandparents came to Istanbul, and as I said, we became the members of the community of the Jewish community of Istanbul, and in 2006 I moved to Israel. I made Aliyah to Israel, and since then I pursued my academic career there and at Tel Aviv University. And today I'm working in various universities such as Ben Gurion University, Ariel University, and Tel Aviv University. And by the way, I have another also a hat. This is the Jerusalem Institute for Strategy and Security. So yes, so that's my this is my story.
Well, you sound busy, and I will probably just take a guess that your expertise is probably more in demand right now in Israel, as I'm just back from Israel last week. And I got the sense that everybody woke up to the possible challenge. I don't want to say threat, but certainly the challenge of Turkey now being on the border. But now, Turkey for years was a secular bastion of the Middle East and an ally of the United States as well as Israel. Mm-hmm. And then things went off the rails a little bit. So what went wrong and when?
Okay. First of all, I must admit that I'm also very much surprised that our research theme, Turkey, has become very popular here in Israel. And, we have to be very honest. Turkey has become our new neighbor in the north. So after the fall of Mr. Assad, we have seen, in my opinion, of course, you may disagree with me, a complete Turkish domination in Syria. They are dominating it with their own infrastructure projects, and they're also, of course, providing political influence. And when we are looking at this whole new picture, so we can basically see that this very clear sentence, like Iran is out, Russia is out, and Turkey is in. And yes, on paper, Turkey and Israel are considered as that they are having proper relations, proper diplomatic relations, but we can say that this country in the last decade has turned into an opponent state, if not an enemy state. Of course, Turkey is not an enemy state, but indeed it is challenging Israel in various areas, especially when we are looking at the latest incident that the Turks have become a part in South Africa's bill against the state of Israel in the ICJ. And in addition to that, we are also witnessing that they also imposed economic sanctions against the state of Israel. So today, unfortunately, we cannot speak about exports and imports. And on top of that, they also froze this direct flights from Istanbul to Tel Aviv. So when we are looking at this big picture, unfortunately, we see a very severe deterioration in the relations. They are attaching the quality of the relations to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And in my opinion, the worst case here is, in the past, we all got used to Turkey's very pro-Palestinian stance when it comes to Israel. However, during the last war, in my opinion, this escalated, and now we are witnessing a pro-Hamas Turkish foreign policy, if not only pro-Palestinian policy. And in my opinion, this is a very serious escalation.
So let me ask you about the Hamas support specifically, because I tend to think that when a country, a government supports Hamas, it's the biggest tell. You can see where they belong sort of on the spectrum of allies or countries. You understand that they are inherently anti-Semitic, they're pro-terror, they're anti-Israel. They're clearly picking a side, and they think they can get away with it. But we see it with the Qataris, we see it with Malaysia, we see it with Algeria. You get a sense, right? This is always the tell, right? So for Turkey, what drives this? It seems like a bad move for any country to support a terrorist organization, to allow it to operate on its soil. What is Recep Tayyip Erdogan's calculus when he does this?
Okay, first of all, we cannot say that this is 100% rational decision. Okay, so we all know that Turkey is a member of NATO, and during the last, we can say, 10 years, we unfortunately saw many times that Turkey did adopt a very independent foreign policy stance and demonstrated many anti-Western steps. For instance, when it came to the United Nations National Security Council decisions and votings on Iran, the sanctions or circumventing the sanctions. And when we are looking at Hamas, unfortunately, we see here a sort of an ideological bond of the Muslim Brotherhood ideology. And from Erdogan's perspective, in my opinion, in the very first days of this war, he thought that this was another limited operation. And when he understood that Israel declared a full-scale war in order to get rid of Hamas and to destroy it completely, in my opinion, he could not live with this decision to have still proper relations with Israel on ambassadorial level, or to have trade relations with Israel. And therefore, in my opinion, he gradually, in an intentional way, deteriorated the relations with his very harsh rhetoric. And we cannot, of course, get away from his very important statement that he delivered in the Turkish parliament, tagging Hamas as a freedom fighter organization that seeks to liberate the occupied territories, etc. Of course, we cannot agree with this kind of a definition. The Hamas is a terrorist organization. They raped women. They killed the Israeli citizens brutally. They kidnapped them. So you cannot tag an organization like Hamas as a freedom fighter organization. It will be an insult for real freedom fighter organizations. So unfortunately, later he also escalated his rhetoric when he even threatened the state of Israel with a direct invasion. And he said that as the way Turkey acted in Nagorno-Karabakh and Libya, he would do the same against the state of Israel.
So now that's where I want to stop you for the next question, because I think this is important. Now you have an Al-Qaeda group sponsored by Turkey, literally on Israel's border. After Erdogan warns that he could engage in this kind of aggression against Israel, now he actually has a proxy group. And I think we can call it that. HTS is a Turkish proxy at this point, formerly known as the Nusra Front, Al-Qaeda affiliated organization, blood on its hands. And now they're literally on Israel's doorstep. So what is the plan here? We're hearing from HTS that they are not interested in a war with Israel. Turkey is now talking about the idea that if the ceasefire holds, then normalization with Israel can return. But this seems like he's got maybe another plan. He's at a fork in the road, if you will. He can either go the way of normalization with Israel and stand down, climb down from that tree, as we might say, or he could move forward with a very dangerous proxy that he has already enabled to conquer an entire country.
Okay. So, in my opinion, of course, you may disagree. Initially, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham was not considered as an Turkish proxy in the very beginning, but later, in my opinion, after the fall of Assad, it definitely turned into Turkey's proxy. I only would like to remind you that the Idlib province was under Hayat al-Tahrir al-Sham's rule, and they were very much dependent on Turkey to have an oxygen from outside world. So Turkey already deepened this organization's dependency to itself. And in the aftermath of Assad's fall, definitely we all witnessed that this particular entity has turned into very much dependent to Ankara. And the reason is within only 3 days, Israeli defense forces eliminated all of the Syrian conventional army. The whole infrastructure of Syria, again, was very much damaged because of the war. Long story short, this Hayat al-Tahrir al-Sham, they lacked international legitimacy. So what happened? We first saw the Turkish intelligence director, Ibrahim Kalın, paid a visit to Damascus. In my opinion, he brought next to him a jacket and a tie and turned Mr. al-Julani into a civilized a figure instead of a jihadi. And then they began to market him, in the outside world, including the United States, and made him a so-called statesman. And in my opinion, before blaming other countries like Germany and other Arab countries that already engaged in direct diplomacy with the new Syrian regime, I think we should look at the Washington D.C. first and foremost. The Biden administration, they did remove this the bounty, the price upon Mr. al-Julani's head, and they paved the way for his international legitimacy. Later, we all witnessed the visit of the Turkish foreign minister Hakan Fidan, and the rest is history. Then the Germans came, and then they began to pay visits to other countries, because at the end of the day, also the United States and also the Europeans, they want to get rid of this Syrian headache. And the Syrian headache, we are all talking
Turkey's
about
going to fix it, right? They think Turkey's going to fix it. By the way, it was the same strategy. That was the same strategy that we saw during the Arab Spring, right? As Muslim Brotherhood movements began to threaten and even topple governments, it was Turkey and Qatar that President Barack Obama tried to rely on, and it failed. By the way, you mentioned Hakan Fidan. This is, of course, the man who was the head of the MIT, the head of the intelligence services during the years that Turkey drew closest to Hamas, the years that Turkey supported Daesh and HTS, ISIS and HTS, to try to bring down the Assad regime. And of course, he was the man that was responsible for helping Iran smuggle $20 billion of cash and gold back to Iran. But let me ask you, I got a final question for you before we let you go. If you're to try to game out where things go from here, do you think Turkey plays a positive role in the containing of HTS? How do you think this plays out? I mean, I know, we have a hard enough time predicting the past, as we like to say, if you study history, right? I know you don't know what waits for us in the future, but if you were to bet, do you think this is a happy ending here with the containment of HTS, or do you think we are in for a bigger mess?
Okay, I wish I could provide you a crystal clear answer for that, but I can only, make some assumptions. And when I'm looking at this picture, at the first phase, I really believe that Turkey needs to fix this problem with the PYD-YPG, the Syrian Kurds. They are very much busy with that. But later, once they will be free after this question, they would be very much concentrated in Syria's reconstruction. And Syria's reconstruction needs lots of investment. So if we want to attract investment, the money does not like wars, right? If the people would like to invest in a certain area, so that particular area should be in a, not a war zone, okay? It should not be considered as a war zone. So in the short run, I assume that the Turks would do everything possible to attract the Qatari and the European Union funds to be poured in Syria for the country's reconstruction. As a result, it would also pump hot money into the Turkish economy. And therefore, in the short run, I assume that we are not going to see any problems. However, unfortunately, I cannot say this for the long run because we do not know what will happen in the near future or in the future, right? Maybe some other actors may try to penetrate into the region, and maybe there would be a new dynamic that we are still not aware of it. So I think we should be cautious. In the first step, that we can say that we can be delighted that Iran is out and instead Turkey is in, but still, given the very harsh rhetorics of the Turkish president against the state of Israel and the continuation of the steady deterioration between Jerusalem and Ankara, I think we should be still cautious, and we cannot pretend that the things may not get worse. Let's all hope that the relationship between Ankara and Jerusalem will be improved, because at the end of the day, Israel does not need more enemies. We only need more friends. And let's hope that Mr. Trump will fulfill his promises, and his legacy will be remembered as the ultimate peacemaker, right? And let us also include in this equation the Israeli-Turkish normalization, but I'm very much pessimistic, I must admit. I'm not a naive person. So it's only, I only wanted to conclude this interview with a positive message. But if you'll ask me if you believe in what I said, I really want to believe, but I don't think that it's something doable as long as Erdogan and Netanyahu will remain in power. Okay,
that's fair enough. I want to thank you, Eytan Cohen Yanarocak, for joining us today on the FDD.
Thank you very much for having me. It is my pleasure. Thank you.
It was terrific. Thank you.
Thank you.